Ahoy there, mateys, and welcome to the VHS Pirate Ship, and welcome to the REEK of the Week, the new little segment here on the VHS Pirate Ship where each week I examine a different aspect of 80s and 90s nostalgia. And on today's REEK of the Week, I'm going to be talking about video games that are based on movies. If a movie was a blockbuster hit, then you can rest assured there was going to be a video game about it. And the movie didn't necessarily have to be a blockbuster hit to get a video game. Now, historically, if a video game is based on a movie, that means it's going to suck, because usually they're always terrible. Yes, most times they suck, sometimes they're okay, very few of them are awesome, and only 5 are my favorites. And today I'm going to count down my top 5 fave video games that are based on movies. So get your smelling nose on, people, because it's the show that has the sweet stench of childhood memories and reeks of nostalgia. It's REEK of the Week. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Number 5. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, the arcade game, which whipped its way into arcades August of 1985. And of course, it's based on the second Indiana Jones movie, which was released in theaters May 4th, 1984. Now, I know what you're thinking. Captain Adam, geez, why did you pick this one? Well, get bent. This game is actually really great. And to me, this game reeks of nostalgia. Because when I was a wee little kid, there was a local arcade that had this, and I remember seeing it and hearing the music and just being fascinated by it and being really impressed with the gameplay. It's very easy to control and, well, fun to play. And this is after being traumatized from watching the movie, because I was only 6 when I saw this movie, and probably shouldn't have seen it that young, because this movie is pretty terrifying. But thankfully the game is not terrifying, and it's a very friendly and fun game to play. And this was eventually released on a number of home ports, the most notable being the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1988. And it was distributed by the bad boys of game development, Tengen, however you want to say it. Now, of course, that version is not nearly as good as the arcade version, but it's okay. I remember renting this as a kid and having a pretty good time with it. So yes, I think that Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, the arcade game, is tremendously underrated and a hell of a lot of fun. And also, I remember not really seeing this a lot in the wild as a kid, so it was a rare treat to come across it. But anyways, let's move on, shall we? Number 4! True Lies for the Super Nintendo, which was first released December of 1994, which of course is based on the movie that was released in theaters July 15th of the same year. And this is a top-down view, run and gun, lots of fun kind of game. And the style of the game is a lot of fun too. The graphics, the sprites, I mean, this game has a lot going for it. And I'm willing to bet that this is the only video game that features Tom Arnold. Now, what's unique about this game is the fact that it's a top-down view. Usually video games that are based on action movies are side-scrollers. Or should I say side-scrolling pieces of shit, because usually they're always terrible. Especially when it's a video game based on a movie that Arnold Schwarzenegger is in. I don't know what it is, but man, they cannot get those right. So True Lies is also unique because it's a video game based upon an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie that's actually good. And if you rented this by chance back in the 90s, you were going to be in for a good time. Moving on, number 3. Coming in at number 3 would have to be Aliens, the arcade game, which was unleashed onto arcades in March of 1990 and was made by arguably one of the best video game developers in the world, Konami. And if you saw this beauty in an arcade, you knew you were in for a good time. It's a 2-player simultaneous shoot-'em-up that behaves like a beat-'em-up, and it's a lot of fun. And of course, it's based on the movie Aliens, which was released in theaters July 18th, 1986. In my opinion, this is one of the greatest arcade games of all time, and sadly, it never got a home port. And this is one of these arcade games that you didn't see a lot of in the wild. I would have to go to out-of-town arcades to play this because nobody in my town had it. So does this game follow the movie pretty well? No, not really, but it's a lot of fun, so I don't give a shit. Moving on, number 2! Batman Returns for the Super Nintendo, which was released in 1992 and was developed by Konami. Once again, one of the greatest game developers of all time. And obviously, this is based on Batman Returns, which was released in theaters June 16th, 1992. And this game is fantastic. Lots and lots of fun here. Now, its main state of gameplay is a beat-em-up, but it also has some levels that are side-scrolling shooters and actually some driving levels too, which totally switches it up and makes it a very dynamic video game, which is a very good thing because though I really enjoy beat-em-up video games, they do tend to get a bit repetitive. So having this alternating style of gameplay really keeps it fresh. And the best part is it follows the movie pretty well. Now that's something you don't normally get in a video game that's based on a movie. Now they did take some liberties here, but it's okay because this game is a lot of fun. I got this for Christmas in 1992 and I had no idea what kind of fun awaited me. But let's move right along to see what's my number one top 5 fave. Number 1! Terminator 2 Judgment Day, the arcade game, which was released in arcades October 31st, 1992, which of course is based on the movie Terminator 2 Judgment Day, which was released in theaters July 5th of the same year. And this video game is a first-person perspective, 2-player simultaneous shoot and blast anything that moves load of fun. And man, this game is so awesome. When an arcade had this, you could tell before you even walked in, because the sound effects and music in this is so tremendous. And Schwarzenegger even did voiceovers for this, and you could hear that all throughout the arcade, so it was a pretty awesome time. And this game is really hard too. I mean, it's awesome, but it's also a quarter muncher. It was developed by Midway, one of the other great game developers of all time. And man, I'm telling you, throughout the late 80s and 90s, Midway was the undisputed king of arcade games. Now, Midway is certainly most famous for the Mortal Kombat series, but they also gave us Smash TV, Total Carnage, Narc, NBA Jam, WrestleMania the arcade game, and yes, they even gave us Revolution X, which is pretty trendy to make fun of nowadays, but be honest, you played this and you kinda like it too. But hey, don't feel bad, I actually had this for the Sega Saturn, so you know. But anyways, these games were everywhere. There really wasn't an arcade that didn't have at least 3 of these games in it. And Terminator 2 Judgment Day would most certainly be one of those games. T2 Judgment Day is not only my favorite movie, but it's also my favorite video game that's based on a movie. And I'm gonna go ahead and say it, it's hands down my favorite arcade game of all time. So that about wraps it up for this Reek of the Week. And I'm sure your top 5 looks a little different. I hope you enjoyed this little segment. Be sure to hit subscribe and give a like, and I'll see you next time, only on Captain Adam's VHS Pirate Ship.